All right, Jay, we're ready to go.
All right, let's call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Genslinger. Jerza.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Osterloo. Penny.
Penny, are you here?
Here.
Schmitz. Sonny. Dosher. We have a quorum.
All right, the proposed agenda was provided to us. Any conflicts?
I'm going to abstain from number 7 and 8.
Okay,
And 9, 10.
given that information, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as provided?
So moved.
Moved and seconded that the agenda be approved as provided. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, we are ready for a vote. And for those of you who are not familiar with the process here, we have two of our members talking to us via phone today. So all votes will be roll call. So Mark, it's your turn.
Genslinger.
Yep.
Jerza.
Yes.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
The minutes of the previous meeting of September 25th were also provided in the packet of information. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes?
Second.
Moved and seconded that the minutes be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Mark, your turn again.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Genslinger.
Yes.
Jerza.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
The next meeting should be for the 23rd of October according to our regular schedule. Do I hear a motion for the blanket?
Set the date. Second.
Moved and seconded that the date be set for October 23rd. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Mark, go ahead.
Genslinger.
Yes.
Jerza.
Yes.
Osterloo.
Yes.
Penny.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, first item on the agenda is a conditional use permit for Zion Lutheran Church. Zion Lutheran Church has applied for a conditional use permit to operate a religious institute, church, fellowship hall, and office space located at 601, 605, and 611 East 4th Avenue. The existing church address is 620 East 3rd. This area is legally described as lots 5 through 7 of Block 32, Cooley and Guernsey addition to the city of Mitchell-Davidson County, South Dakota. The said real property is zoned R2 Single Family Residential District. And I believe a conditional use to operate a religious institute is a conditional use of that particular zoning jurisdiction.
Yep, that's correct. Notices were sent out to the neighbors, published in the official paper, signs were posted. We received one letter in favor of it. This will go kind of, talk about this will also be with the next item because they go hand in hand together. You have to have the conditional use before you can do the variance portion of it. So in your packet, you see just the overall concept of what their church is going to look like. Also the inside for bathrooms, the assembly hall, conference room, a couple meeting rooms. They have future plans for the area as well. That's in your packet. They have right of first refusal on a few houses that are there currently. And then there's another one still they're working with, and potentially to get more parking to the east of where this is going to be located at. I'll bring up the variances right now, just to talk about it as well. With this, the size of the building that's going to be, they're requesting the variance on the side yard, 17 and a half versus the 20 feet for the, right here where it peaks out a little bit into that setback. Another one is on the, they're actually calling the alley side, the front yard and roadside is the rear yard. They're both 25-foot setbacks, but they want their front yard to be towards the existing church itself. And they have a drop-off area right there. So that's where that variance portion comes into it. And then obviously the big one is probably the parking. They're not creating any new parking spots with this addition to their facility, but they have plans for in the future to tear down and put parking in for there as well. Eric Schramm, representing the church, is here. If you have any questions for him, I can answer any questions you have for me as well. But the conditional use will be first before the variance, because you have to have that before you can go on
Yep.
to anything else.
And we'll talk about both of them at the same time. So, gentlemen, have you any more to add than was provided to us at this point?
Eric, do you have anything that you want to add to this?
Not unless there's questions. I think you covered it well.
Anybody got any questions? Anyone from the
Well,
audience? Yes, go ahead.
this is Jerza. I wanted to ask if it's probably going to be rare that both the church and this activity center would be used at the same time. Is that correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay. So the parking that's adequate for the, and I'm guessing that's why you put the parking on the, or the entry on the south end, was to make it accessible from the existing parking lot, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anybody from the audience got a question or a comment? Okay, let's take the conditional use permit first. Do I hear a motion to approve the conditional use permit?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded that the conditional use permit be recommended to the council to be approved. Discussion on the motion. Hearing no discussion on the motion, Mark, it's your turn.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes.
Genslinger,
Abstain.
Jerza,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, next item is the variance that goes along with this conditional use. The side yard setback along Burr Street versus 17 feet versus 20 to account for the point of the building overhang. 2, a front yard setback along the alley of 16.5 feet versus 25 feet to account for a pedestrian drop-off and roof overhang. And number 3, off-street parking on site, 0 spaces versus 89 spaces. Standard parking and ADA parking is located on the existing adjacent church property, and additional parking is planned in the next phase of construction to the east of the project property. Is that sufficient information
Yes.
for us? Questions?
So right now, I see where that future classroom is gonna go. Someone owns that right now, correct?
Yes, somebody else owns that right now.
So what's the setback on that one right there?
That's going to be 25 front, 25 rear, 3 on each side.
So right now, they're meeting that, from their property, from somebody else.
Yep.
So to say that you got this property for sure in the future?
I believe the gentleman at the podium can answer that question.
Oh, you're the owner.
We'll take off my fire marshal hat. Gentleman, Shannon Sandwell. I'm the homeowner at 615 East 4th. Aside from what we have seen currently, I've been working with Eric on the current project. As of right now, no. We plan to stay there currently. We have not spoke with the church on any transactions at this time. So if that answers your question, I was going to ask a question with the setback. having not seen the GIS as it was going to be laid out, will that push it right up to the fence line there? Or is there
No,
It should be 7 feet?
7 feet? And I'd seen it marked out there. It'd been mowed that since then, so I couldn't remember. But that my only concern would be we have children and dogs, so we would like to leave the fence up during the phase of construction, but it doesn't look like it'll be an issue, so. Other questions?
And yes, the church has, if you go back up to that map,
I'll come up to the microphone there.
so the church owns the middle lot there that is in gray. We have the right of first refusal on the two adjacent. The idea would be to turn that into the church parking to kind of serve the front of the church, which faces kind of backwards from Burr and faces Capitol. The future classroom addition could be 30, 40, 50 years down the road. If it's more to show the congregation that if we have sufficient classroom space in our current building. And so that is a phase drawing if all the stars aligned. But that is not in our direct need or want right now. And so we're not kicking you out.
No,
We weren't, we don't want to bring
If
that.
you never get his property, the thing is you would never build it.
No, exactly.
You'd have a parking lot from the first refusal, I see.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. What's your pleasure here, gentlemen?
Procedurally, you can take each one by themselves for the variances, or if you so choose, you can move for all three at one time.
I say you go one, do them all. So I'll say, I'll make a motion to approve all the variances.
Do I hear a second? I will remove my chairman's hat and I will second the motion. Now I can put my chairman's hat back on. It has been moved and seconded that all three variances be recommended for approval. Is there discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Mark, your turn.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Penny. Penny,
Yes.
thank you. Genslinger,
Abstain?
Jerza,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next item on the agenda is a plan approval. Bank West at 1200 East Spruce Street, zoned highway business. They just sent us some pretty nice pictures. Mark, tell us what's going on there.
Yeah, we received a request for a building permit for 1200 East Spruce Street. They're expanding to the north of their existing building. It meets all the setbacks for what they need. Parking is all met as well. You can see in the plans, it's got some of their drainage, site work, utility work. They aren't providing any more signage along Spruce Street at this time, or Burr, might be some building signage, but nothing from that. And we can address a lot of it with the building permit portion of it, but this is zoned highway business, so it has to come in front of this board for the normal purposes. I don't believe anybody's here for questions, but I can answer anything you have, or John can answer your questions as well.
Are there any questions on what's going on here, guys? Anybody out in the audience have any questions about what's going on? If not, we're ready for a motion.
I'll move to approve.
This is yours. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded that the plan be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I assume you're ready to vote. Art, your turn.
Yes, no? Okay. Genslinger,
Yes.
Jirza,
Yes.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
and Penny has left the meeting.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
Let's go on to number 10. Truck armor. 2424 West Haven Zone Highway Business, another plan. Looks like they're going to put up a building out there.
Yep, don't have quite as detailed of a plan for this one. Computer catches up at some point. They're looking to put up a 70 by 104 building addition. It'll have 16-foot sidewall. Since it's over 50 foot wide, it'll have to be structurally engineered. The applicant knows that. The applicant's here if you have questions for him at all, but my understanding is just going to be a cold storage warehouse for their building portion of it.
Access. Is there an issue with access?
Access, they would already have easements from the south. Drainage, it's already non-permeable. Drainage would still continue down to the south to go to the havens to the ditch there.
City folks, issues?
None at this time.
Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded that that plan be approved. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, it's your turn again, Mark.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Genslinger,
Yes.
Jirza,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item. A plat of lots 2A, 2B, and 2C, a subdivision of previously platted Lot 2, all in Block 8 of Westwood First Edition, as requested by Jensen Capital and Development LLC. We had a drawing question.
So existing right now is a 300-foot by 140-foot lot 2. So they're dividing that up into 3 sublots. They're going to be putting duplexes on each one of those. Multifamily housing in R4 is a permitted use, so they are within the zoning code for multifamily, and they also meet the required width for the lots in R4 as well.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded that the plat be approved as presented. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, Mark, your turn again.
Genslinger,
Yep.
Jirza,
Yes.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Aha. A hearing and action on establishing the boundaries and approval of the project plan for tax increment financing district number 31. And I'll bet you that's why Mr. Peterson is here to talk to us.
That would be correct. It was noticed in the paper. You will notice the legal description that we have. There's 6 different lots that this entails, or boundaries to set for it. At our last meeting, you approved a plat that goes right here and extended West 15th. The county just approved that plat this morning as well, and it has actually been recorded at the Register of Deeds already too. So with the legal that was noticed compared to what the legal actually is right here is a little different because it includes an approval of recently submitted plat, the approved property, Lot 22, Block 7, Westwood First Edition. So it keeps what was noticed there, plus it includes the new plat that's been recorded, just so it cleans it up. So I'll let Don speak to this because that's what Don does.
Well, actually, there's kind of a new order of how this goes, and it goes a lot faster. And so Justin and Stephanie will make a presentation on the city, for the city, and then I'll answer any questions that you may have. But instead of an hour, this takes about 10 minutes.
Good.
Yeah, so just, I'll give a very brief overview of this one. Mark, if you want to pull up the map, that might be the easiest way to kind of look at it. Essentially, this TIF district would be for the purpose of getting 15th Avenue installed, which you'll see there at the northern boundary of that TIF district. It picks up several lots in the area that are slated or hopefully will have industrial and commercial development in the near future. The staff conducted our review of the project plan. We did feel that it met all of the state and city requirements for the TIF project. I know Public Works conducted a review of the proposed infrastructure costs. One thing to note on that is that the numbers that you see in the document for the infrastructure costs were based on the engineer's estimate. Sounds like the project was bidded and the bids came in quite a bit lower, so those numbers might be a little bit in flux between now and when council makes the approval, but shouldn't have a huge impact on how the TIF is proposed to function or what the purpose of the TIF would be. So I guess, Joe, did you have any other comments on that portion of it?
I do not.
The only other thing to note in there is there was a request for interest on this item, and based on past guidance from council, we wanted to flag that for their consideration at the meeting. I'm not sure that that's something that this planning commission needs to worry about, but that's something that the council itself is going to have to decide on, whether the interest should be included as a project cost or not. But overall, it appears that the projected increment would be enough to cover the cost of the infrastructure. Lost my train of thought there. Should be enough to cover the cost of the infrastructure, and it's not coming back to me. I guess with that, we can open it up for any other questions. Stephanie, I don't know if you have any comments.
No, I guess the only thing, like Justin said, we did have the TIF committee did our internal review of the application, and there were some minor changes made, but as presented, the remaining item would just be that potential change in the infrastructure costs. Yeah, no, I don't have anything else to add. This we saw as a good way for us to be able to complete 15th Street. And just for commission's information, it is an overlapping TIF with County TIF 2. So there's a period of, I believe, 6 or 7 years where the increment will go towards that County TIF 2 till it's paid off, and then it will start paying on to this new TIF. I can't remember the exact years. I've been gone for a week, so I haven't looked at it in a little bit. Was that the thing?
Yep, the overlapping discussion was the part I was going to bring up. And I guess I should also clarify that Mitchell Area Development Corporation is going to be the developer on this project, so the TIF funds would flow through to them. They're going to be the ones covering all of the upfront costs, and then the TIF will reimburse them for their expenses. So with that, I think that's all we've got.
Can you explain the rationale behind the irregular shape of the TIF boundary? What goes into that?
I think a majority of the irregular boundary would be connecting rights of ways to properties that were going to be included in the TIF district. So if you go back to the map, there's kind of one on the southern side that's a little bit further away. So you need to connect Commerce Street down to that property that you'd be including. There's also a couple properties on the the western edge where you would be coming down Ullman to catch those properties. And then one towards, I guess the one on the eastern side is not quite as far out, but.
Another another reason for the irregular shape is it needed to capture enough property that would have a high enough increment to cover the cost of the infrastructure that's needed for 15th Street.
And I guess one other thing is those are the properties that either have not really been developed to this point and are expected to be developed in the near future, or have already started.
And it seems to me like we did a primary infrastructure a few years back that put us some storm drain in that made things happen very nicely. So hopefully this will be a similar.
I think the nice thing about this area too is the development that we're talking about would be on the south side of 15th. By getting that in, that road in, it gives the opportunity for the properties on the north to develop, even though they are not, I don't believe they're in the TIF boundaries, right?
No.
But I think you'll still see some construction kickoff or those lots will be more marketable.
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering or getting at was why the north properties weren't included in that TIF boundary.
Because there's no planned construction at this time.
Right. We'd hate to, and it's the same, one of the same owners, but we'd hate to put those in and have, because once you create the TIF, you got 5 years to spend the money. And so we don't know if that'll develop. And in the past, we've come in with TIFs with different phases, but again, that ties up a large amount of money that you're saying that we could TIF for, and if it doesn't develop, then it just, so we thought the better approach was we know what's going to happen now, and this puts in the street that connects Ullman and Commerce, and so that we would limit it to that.
And then the other comment that I would make on that, we actually prefer to see the TIF for what we're doing right now. I think there was some confusion on earlier TIFs where we maybe had 3 or 4 different phases planned, and we only really got to phase 1. So we're dealing with what we know is going to happen right now. If something happens to the north in the future, they could always come back and look at a TIF for that additional development.
Right.
Main thing is get the infrastructure in there.
Yep.
And it looks like you're going to put water and sewer in as well as the streets and curb and gutter, is that correct?
That's correct.
Good use of money, in my opinion, because I remember a couple that we did that with, and all of a sudden, things broke loose there.
Well, the underlying reason for this was the ECHO wants to, they're in town, but they have a small presence, and they want to build a 20,000 to 25,000 square foot building, and that's the lot they want to build it on, but there wasn't any access. So that allows that project to go forward, add that additional $2 to $2.5 million building to the tax rolls, and will also allow them to increase their employee up to 12 or 15 employees. So that's all beneficial.
Any other questions or comments before we decide on the boundaries here?
I can make one, Justin. Justin and I talked last weekend and or last week, and as a part of that, we've now moved interest, which was a project cost. We've now moved that into a non-project cost, so we're no longer at this point really looking for that interest.
Yep. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the boundary as described
As described on page 79 of 81 in the packet, or page 39 of their TIF, which describes the 6 different boundaries. As
Yep.
said. Is that correct, your motion?
Yep.
Still second.
Or
the boundary issue gets to be an issue, and on this one, it gets to be an issue.
It's a big boundary list.
Yes. All right, discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Mark, your turn.
Genslinger,
Yes.
Jerza,
Yes.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Larson.
Yep.
Motion carried for setting the boundary. next portion of it would be to approve the project plan and recommend approval of TIF District Number 31.
Okay, we've approved the boundaries, now let's approve the rest of the project.
I suppose. Is there any other things that we have to know about that?
I don't think so, I think
Okay, I didn't know if I had to go look for a page here or anything like that.
No.
so. No, I'll second it.
Moved and seconded that we approve the, and I don't know the wording of that, Mark, you will put it in correctly?
Project plan and recommend approval of TIF District Number 31.
Yeah. Discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Mark, it's your turn again.
Osterloo,
Yes.
Genslinger,
Yes.
Gurza,
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
All right, is there any other business to come before this body at this time? Now it's time for public input. If you need to address the board on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time.
That makes sense.
Seeing as how no one is coming forward to the podium, we are adjourned.